Hey, what's going on, everyone, and welcome to the Deceptilab. This is your boy Freeze coming at you with a weekly live stream. Today, we got a couple of good things to talk about. As you guys probably saw earlier today, Space Ape is releasing God Neptune and Ruination, the newest combiners in Transformers Earth Wars. They're gonna be coming to you starting this week, and so I'm gonna go talk a little bit about what they do. I got God Neptune set up on my test account so that we can try to go run some demonstrations. And also, we have news that there's going to be new Ability 11s, new G1 cores coming in Transformers Earth Wars. So we'll talk about which bots made the cut and we'll just see what's going on. So, um, should be some pretty good stuff to talk about today. I did ask the question in the stream, who are you hoping to see in the Ability 11 batch and in the G1 core batch? So if you haven't already, let me know in the chat who you want to see get that G1, who you want to see get that Ability 11. But before we talk about any of that, let's go to the newsletter and take a look at this week's news. All right, so this week's event is called Vector Sigma Crash. It's season 20, week 2 of the current saga. And as I already mentioned, Ruination for the Autobots and God Neptune for the Decepticons are going to be coming to the game this week. And along with that, this week's weekend event is going to have a guaranteed 4-star Ruination and God Neptune bot. Duplicates are going to be possible for that. You're going to get 50 Ruination God Neptune crystals. You're going to get 400k of the Combiner Spark to try to start you off. If you haven't been saving, that'll be a good start. So that if you do get Ruination and God Neptune, if you get the pieces, then you can go ahead and start those level ups. It's going to be 25 total Spark crystals, 2.5k of 4-star shards, 7.5k of 3-star shards, and 20k premium crystal shards. It's a 500k event, so nothing too crazy. And you can actually see the price chart there. And yeah, it's pretty good event. And you know, I think it was last week, Space Apes actually started a survey about the event structure. I personally love the event structure last saga, just because the point for the prizes stayed typically a little bit lower where it's manageable for most players in the game. Um, and to be honest with you, I think around 75% of players saw it that way. It was actually really transparent when you looked at it and it showed you the chart with the percentages. I think it was somewhere around 74, 75% of players liked that event schedule. So hopefully it stays close to that, just because you can still farm XP afterwards through most of the events. And I think that was really helpful. I actually found myself playing events more because of it, because I was just like, all right, well, I'm gonna get my prizes and get out. But when I know, hey, if I got a free weekend, and every other weekend I'm kind of busy, so I'm just like, hey, now I can farm to my heart's content whenever I see appropriate. I even completed an endurance event last time, so um, it was definitely good for my gaming and life balance. Typical battle zones for this particular event, nothing new there. And then some game updates and information. So, like we said, Ruination and God Neptune's there. It's talking a little bit more about the abilities. I'm not going to read through that because I'm going to show that in a demonstration. But man, God Neptune looks really good, man. I've been saying that since they were making the bots individually. Ruination's a little on the ugly side, but I mean the combiner's gonna do what it does. Shout out to Texas Hammer for making the charts showing the upgrade times for combiners. In case you forget, you can see that in the newsletter, and it actually shows you each of the abilities and the pictures there for Ruination as well. As always, make sure you go out and you support all of your content creators, your official ones, Engineer Horse, myself, Soldier, and of course Sunstreaker Waza. And a lot of unofficial content creators in there as well. If you guys are out there in the chat, you know, feel free to shout yourselves out. Most of you guys I talk to on a regular basis, really, really good channels out there. I'm glad to see so many people out there actually interested in creating content these days. And I got some glitching going on with my lighting back there, it looks like. Let me try something real quick. My lighting's acting up. I'll fix it in a second. All right, let's see. Saga schedule. We got week 2 of this event. Prime course coming up, and then of course your combat shard event. So be looking forward to that. And then yeah, we always have a Halloween special coming up in a few weeks. So that's cool. Community corner. Everybody got some nice artwork as always. And then let's take a look at the bug fixes and improvements. And so for the bug fixes this go around, we've got so it's been a lot of controversy about this one. So sidetrack and growl, and for sidetrack and growl, it says they're updating the tooltip. Now a lot of people have been talking about that there could potentially be a nerf. Um, I think that might have been a typo because it's saying that the robotic form is immune for 5 seconds. Now, typically, for anybody that's using my, actually, ironically enough, I just did a video on this last week, or I did it talked about this on my live stream last week. But that's 15 seconds of invulnerability. Uh, I don't think that they're actually reducing that down to 5 seconds. I know, and maybe you guys in the chat, let me know if you saw something different on Discord. But I was pretty sure that Dale said, "Let me go back and talk to the team because think that I don't think that it actually is getting reduced. I think somebody just forgot to add the one. Um, but I think he's gonna need time to verify. And so, and if that's the case, uh, I hate that it scared people, but I hope that it's actually just staying at 15. It is a very tough combat for Growling Sidetrack. I will admit that. But it is also able to be countered because that invulnerability counts as a shield. You can counter it with FFD, and so I don't see any true reason to take it away, and I think it might just be an honest mistake. So fingers crossed that that's the case. Dazzle Strike and Giza. They said bots equipped with these combats will not follow the Optimus and Megatron rush. They supposedly fixed that issue. Bashbreaker and Gabu, the combat was getting stuck in one place, and that has been resolved. Uh, and they also want to remind you that Bashbreaker and Gabu do not work on defense, just like any other melee combats. Alliance HQ, the players were getting lower resources, and then they were supposed to in the Intel mining station when it's unlocked. That's supposedly fixed. Um, and then they have some that will go into effect on the following Thursday, September 28th. So Brainstorm and Skyhawk and Air Raid and Slipstream, they've been having a lot of issues. None bigger really than the targeting issue and not exploding. Those they said they're gonna be fixed. They're gonna push those the week after, not tomorrow Thursday, but the following Thursday, as well as a problem they were having with the Vector Prime core not active. So if you had something activate after the HQ was destroyed, uh, it wouldn't do anything. It'll just leave you without the battle finishing. And then they also mentioned, like I already talked about, that there's going to be 6 new G1 cores, 3 Ability 11s. There's no dates confirmed for the release yet. We just got them in playtest today, to the point that I haven't even been able to fuse them and upgrade them yet. As we got them that soon. But we can talk about the bots that they're on and see if it's something that's going to make you excited for them. Space Apes doing their team stream next Thursday, September 28th. And that is all we got for the news for now. And let's see something real quick. Let's see if I can get this lighting. If I can get that where I need it to be. But while I'm doing that, let's take a look around in the chat. See who we got in the chat. So, that's just not working right today, huh? Let's see. So we got first in the chat was Chris Harmon, one of my good friends, moderator, and members. Thanks for joining. We also got Alpha Trion 1 with us again. So thanks for joining. Let's see. We got my good buddy E Rods in here, as well as Dennis Smoke 86. Guys, make sure you check out his content. He's got a lot of good stuff out there right now. So yeah, make sure you check him out as well. And let's see who else we got. We got Robert C4 also making some really nice content. So thanks for joining me, buddy. Good friend of mine. Uh, let's see. Uh, Autobot Phil joining us again. Thanks for joining, good buddy LJ Gaff, as well as J5000 Watts. So thanks for stopping by today. Let's see, another fellow content creator, Big Blade, is out there today. So thanks for coming by again, as well as Ronald Van Hollen, who was excited about the new Ability 11s. Uh, Let's see. LJ Gaff said Thundercracker for SA11. I mean, we'll see what happens, man. I know that's one that a lot of people been wanting, so we'll see how that goes. Let's see. My good friend Mercenary Terror and my moderator as well. Thanks for joining. And he says Snapdragon, Punch, and Thundercracker for ability 11. Let's see. We got Illicit Pulse joining us, talking about the melee combat nerf. Yeah, like we said, and Big Blade kind of backed me up on it. Hopefully, it's a typo, man. I really, really do hope that that's a typo. I think it is. I don't think that there's any legitimate reason to nerf him, so we'll see what happens. Hopefully, we'll know something tomorrow. We got Matt Polly in here joining us today. Thanks for joining, buddy. Psycho81 is with us. And I think I might have gotten everyone. Let's see if we got anybody lurking. And it doesn't look like it. So yeah, good crowd today. So let's go on to the battlefield. Let's talk about God Neptune. Actually, I probably should back this one out a little bit so you can actually read. Then we'll go back to the live chat. Or then we'll go back to the screen with the live chat. And right at there at the beginning of the right at the beginning of the stream, there goes Decepticon. looking at somebody outside, it looked like. See if he calms down in a minute before I get up and actually go stop him. Man, I got this fly in this house, man. This dude just will not leave me alone. All right, so let's see. So this is the battlefield over here for my test server. And that's why I can't see it. I got all these other things up here. Let's talk about God Neptune. Now, I don't have a second account on the test server to show Ruination. My understanding is they got them designed pretty much the same. And so we'll start off with that first 3-star ability. It's called the God Sting. And so this one is going to be, you always have that one rush in ability when you're talking about combiners. So this is going to be your rush ability where you're going to charge forward. This is the maxed out 4-star level 25 version. So that's going to do 3.9k damage to the final target. And then you're going to get an additional 3.255 to the over 10 seconds to targets on the way. It's going to stun those targets for 13 seconds, and it's also granting a shield that halves damage taken for 10 seconds. So this is actually really good for the rush. That's going to allow you to kind of conserve some damage a little bit. So I actually like this ability a lot compared to a lot of the other rush in abilities. I think it's going to be pretty cool. I'll show it to you in a minute. Uh, so you get tidal wave affected targets hit by this will have their TW effect extended. So that one's going to be pretty cool. So when they say TW, they're talking about the tidal wave. And so here on the tidal wave, your second, excuse me, your second 3-star ability, you're going to unleash a large wave that deals 4,092 damage to the targets, reducing their attack and defense by 50% for 13 seconds. Stun targets hit by this will have their EMP effect affected. So you can kind of pick and choose how you want to play this. Now, this is one of the things that I was saying before. I genuinely hope that we end up with a new element because of this. Because what I want to see, I want to see a water element. And to be honest with you, I want to see that water element be so. I want it to be so powerful when combined with electric that you have something that's comparable to acid and fire. So I did ask the question when we first started testing God Neptune, like who knows how long ago it's been. It's been like a couple of months now. We didn't really get a straight answer if that was going to be the way forward. With just in regards to bots and anything like that. I hope that's the case though, because one thing that I see when I'm talking about metas is you can't just get stuck in one for an extended period of time. Those of you who talk to me on my Discord server, and if you aren't on my Discord server, please sign up. It's the links in the bio of every video. But one of the things we always talk about is like the meta just gets too restrictive. Like right now, the meta is, oh my gosh, you must have acid. And so if you got a bot that's got acid, um, especially if you got multiple bots that acid, pretty much is what reasonable amounts of tactics you're set. I would love to see something similar. And they say, hey, I can use water. Now you don't have to abandon acid if that happens, but it would be something to be nice to have to be a nice another combination. And so I think it kind of starts here with God Neptune. We've been seeing the electrical meta is coming for a while. This kind of plays into that. I hope that's the way forward. And then the 4-star ability is called God Splitter. It's going to send a shockwave that deals 7,440 damage to targets in a line. And then it's going to have your tidal wave affected, and stunned enemies hit by that will release explosions to spread their effects. Once activated, uh, allies will receive 40% ability damage increase for 12 seconds. So that'll give you enough time to just get like a little boost, get a little 40% boost for your bots. So let's go out there into the actual battlefield. We'll test them out and we'll see what you guys think. And my good friend Joker and my first member to the channel just joined. Thanks for joining, buddy. Yeah, and a couple of the guys that I talked to in the Discord server are already saying, yeah, man, like let's get water and electricity combo. I think that's the way to go. I think that's the way to open up some flexibility. I think the more bots that you open up potential potential. I don't even want to call it the meta. I think that you want to add some variety. You know, guys are clinging to the same, 10 to 15 bots all the time. Like, man, let's mix it up. Let's make some of these other guys viable. And for the electric bots, some of them you're gonna have to make making the 5 stars. Some of them are already good as 4 stars, and they released Deathsaurus, but I'm not sold on him. Deathsaurus and Star Saber. So I just like you got to make these guys good, and you got to make them so that you got to incentivize using them. And I think water, water. If you do any combination of water, ice, with electric, I think that's the first step. But I could say just do water for the time being because there's not it's not a whole lot of ice bots, and the ones that we do have, a lot of them they need to make in the 5 stars. So all right, let's take a look, man. I didn't talked a lot. I said, I've been on here for how long now? I can't even see. I've been on here for 20 minutes. Let's show this. Let's show this combiner. All right. So here, I'm not really concerned about who I use. I'm really going to be showing the combiner more than anything. We'll load up God Neptune, take him into the prime zone. We'll see what happens. Um, Yeah, man, that's like my lighting is acting funny today, and I think it's tough because it's starting to get darker earlier, so I have to adjust my lighting to how the lighting is outside because my studio is like right here by my back patio, and sometimes the light peers in, so it's just kind of weird. Try to see if I can. All right, so I'm just gonna show him off by himself without using any of the bots, and so we'll go ahead and deploy him first. And so firstly, look at the range that you get here on this tidal wave. I'm gonna target up here. And you can see it's got like that little water icon. So what you wanna do is you wanna combo those 3 star abilities together. And then so when you use his second ability, you can see that he gets that or really I think that's technically his first ability. You get that shield, and it's actually saving them quite a bit because by you getting that shield, like one of my concerns when we were testing them originally before we got this shield was that, hey man, like this dude's taking a lot of damage, and so it kind of slows that process down a little bit. You can hit the God Splitter, and I like how you have naturally occurring combos that are going to take place with this combiner. I think it's going to be a winner down the stretch. I feel comfortable using him in the Prime League. And yeah, I think most of the playtesters were actually pretty impressed with this combiner. So we'll run a couple of demos with the God Neptune, and we'll run them in some team play as well, just so we can get a good look at what he can do. All right, so I'll actually drop some bots this time. See how you can do against some outpost bots and stuff. Now I'm playing against some older bases, So it's not going to be a true simulation, but you can get a good idea of what this bot can do. All right, so we can deploy them again. And so one thing I like about this is you can kind of reverse these effects on this combiner however you want to do. You can go with tidal wave first, or you can go with God Sting first. In this case, I think I will go with the tidal wave first. Get that tidal wave effect. And they just wanted to call it tidal wave effect because I don't think they're ready to actually introduce water into the game yet. If I'm being honest, I would love for them to do so. Um, but they just kind of gave it its own color and called it the tidal wave effect for now. But I would love to just see new elements, man. I think it's awesome anytime you get to do anything new like that. But I really just want to break away from the game is only the asset meta and that's it. Our metas in this game last way too long, man. Like we just sit here and like the meta is just the meta for a year or two. Sometimes I've seen it as long as like 3 years. Like, man, that's way too much. Like, you got to be able to, you got to make it so the game is flexible. And it's good for a couple of reasons. It's good for players to go in there and test different strategies. And it's also good for the game because when new bots come out, you want to use them. You want to go and pursue them because, hey, they got something new and different that I hadn't seen before. And I was having a conversation in playtest. This is a few weeks back. Yeah, it's about 2 weeks ago because it was when everybody was talking about I had the angry stream. But the truth is that I'm not angry. I'm passionate about the game, and I'm passionate about players having bots that are balanced enough that they're usable in all leagues, and we're not clinging to that same 10 or 15 bots like we have been doing for a while. That's the whole thought process behind my channel. So I said, hey man, I want to do something different. I want to talk about, hey, if you don't have these bots, if you have this bot, what do you do? These are the things that I like to talk about on the channel just for that purpose. And I think that if you make bots that are good enough, that you make bots that, and now some people are always going to take the stance that they're going to take. Some people are just going to be like, well, this is not better than that, and I'm not using that. And I'm like, cool, bro. Nobody asked you to. Nobody's holding a gun to your head. You know what I mean? But it would be nice to have some variety. And honestly, a lot of the bots that came out this year, um, the ideas were really unique. And the argument always becomes, well, unique doesn't mean that it's good. I never said that. But I said, I do always applaud the effort that Space 8 makes when a bot is unique. And as long as the statistics match, and that's my key thing, if the statistics match and he can, he's actually capable enough to do damage or to has the health that it needs to survive in a prime league war, I'll sign off on the bot. I don't necessarily have to like the bot. I think that's part of the objectivity of being a playtester is to say, I don't really care for this bot, but the way that you designed it, it's gonna be good for someone, even if it's not good for me. And that's why, like, even with endurance bots, I don't go for every endurance bot. I've gone for two that I saw value in, and it's okay. They'll come out in the batch if I decide later on I want it. So far, I haven't decided that I absolutely had to have an endurance bot that I missed out on. But it is what it is. But part of what makes the game enjoyable, playing the same, everybody using the exact same base designs and using the same 10 to 15 bots, that doesn't make the game better. It actually makes the game just copycat. Everybody's doing the same thing, and it makes the game eventually become dull. So, but man, this shield on this thing really works wonders because when I would think that he's gonna completely get taken out, and that shield pops in and slows down that damage he's taking, it's really helpful. Even though this is like, it's not like a prime league base or anything. It's like a lower tier base. So let's take a look in the chat, see what everybody's talking about. See S. Cloacia's joint while it was talking, as well as Silverbolt 94. And Silverbolt 94 says, since Titan perks drop warriors being immune to all stun, BB having it as combats plus blades have Chromia and Fellbat as a joke. So I mean, it's yeah, I mean, and it really just depends on a lot of different things. Let's see. So for the Titan perks, yeah, I mean, I think most folks really liked Warrior Stun Immunity. But yeah, as far as stun bots, I mean, they're a little bit easier to navigate these days. To your point. Chris Harmon says they're not taking anything out. They might add an acid counter, and I always got to remind people that at one point in time, I think might have been when HQ18 was getting ready to come out. They have the acid counter built already because they were going to do. It was actually no, it wasn't before HQ18. It was when it was right around the time the acid and fire got separated, and then the acid meta kind of started. They built a core called Fireproof Dome. And Fireproof Dome, simply enough, was just going to reduce the amount of damage you were taking from acid and fire. But then they went in a completely different direction at Space Ape, and they said we're going to we're going to make acid have anti-heal properties, and they separated it from fire for that purpose. And then they made fire is the damage multiplier for acid. Um, so I could still see that being released at some point. There's even been some talk from Space Ape about potentially doing a war effect where the anti-heal effect for acid doesn't is not as strong. It won't be 100%. Maybe it'll be 75. Maybe it'll be 85% for a duration when they add some war effects. Which that's another thing that I think positively changes the meta. That's one way that you can shift the meta around is through really good sets of war effects. Try to push people into using certain types of bots for like a month or two. It doesn't have to be a long period of time. Like just dedicate time to changing the war effects once a month, and I think you'll be okay. But it's been tough because they don't want to add war effects and then add, you know, prime cores on defense, and you want to add this and you add like you upgrade like we still do an MDS upgrade and stuff like that. So a lot of bots are gonna fall out of the meta because statistically they're not gonna be able to keep up anymore. And those are the kind of things that kind of prevents you from going forward with just any kind of war effects and stuff like that. I think we need to get back into having war effects because it's something that changes the meta on the recurring basis regularly. Alpha Trion 1 says, if you pray for rain, prepare for the mud that comes with it. uh, yeah, Big Blade says acid ruined the game in a way. And yeah, and to your point, the acid bots, there's a lot of good acid bots out there. Yeah, and some of them are, they've made them in them where some of them, even without the anti-heal properties, you made anti-heal properties. You made them when some of them are the best in the game, which ultimately I think is okay. However, I think the problem is that it's like you must use this or die at the top levels. Um, and don't get me wrong, I'm cool with the idea of like I am fully prepared to go into a battle with just one acid bot. I use two because the second one, for me, because I use Acid Storm, a slingshot for you guys on the Autobot side. Doesn't do, I mean, does good damage, but he's not gonna one shot anything. You're gonna have to combo him off something. So I like to go use Knockout, which is skids for you guys, and I like him because he's doing all of that additional damage to outpost bots, walls, and minions. I use him with the Alchemist Prime Core, so that allows me to regenerate very, very fast because I'm doing 4 times damage to all that stuff. Then I'm gonna regenerate at a stupid rate. And Alchemist is one of those cores that affects everything. So a lot of people will use, oh man, I need to go use Fracas and Nightstick and I need to use it with the G1 core. Nah, you don't. You really don't. I'm not saying that it's bad, but it just really depends on your team, and that's what I always tell people when you're talking about prime cores. So a lot of people will ask me, well, what's the best build for this bot? And I was like, I won't answer that question unless you show me the rest of your team and how it's set up. Because sometimes what we want to make into a simple answer, sometimes you could actually be hurting the synergy of your team. And I see highly classified has joined us, as well as James. Is it James Slusser? Thanks for joining. All right. So, who wants to talk about? What do y'all want to talk about first? Y'all want to talk about G1s or y'all want to talk about ability 11s? Let me know in the chat, and I'll start pulling some. Now, I will say this: I'm not going to show what these abilities do, and I'm not going to show what the G1 cores do yet. Honestly, um, a few of the G1 cores, from what I've seen so far, and I just glanced at them, they look they some of the stuff seems like it's gonna need some work. Uh, I didn't get to fuse any cores yet, so I don't know percentages and stuff yet. And I think it'll be safer for me to come back and talk about those on another stream. However, I will let you know which bots got put in for each one. So let's see. Let's take a look and see what people are asking for first. I see one for G1. I see one for ability 11. G1, ability 11. Big Blade says he wants Sandstorm to get one, and we talked about that earlier. Yeah, and I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what. Let's see. Let me go take a look at my notes real quick and see what we got. I think that I'm going to talk about ability 11s first. And the reason why I think that is because I want to make my good buddy Big Blade happy because you got it. Octone is going to be getting an ability 11 Octone and Sandstorm, which for some reason is not giving me the option here. It's not giving me the option here yet, but let me make sure. Yeah, he's on the list. He's supposed to be getting. Oh, they might be working on it because. So I'll tell you what happened. So they gave us an ability 11 earlier today. Um, it was a good thought. It wasn't really the concept that I think most people were looking for. So when you look at Octone and Sandstorm, let me know in the chat. What do you think one of the biggest problems there is with Octone and Sandstorm? Because for me, I think that it's his survivability. So I don't know what direction they're going in with this yet. I see that the apes already took the ability 11 away, so that means to me, when I see that and I'm in playtest, that means that it's being reworked. The playtesters did give them a lot of feedback on this one today, and I think the biggest thing for Octone and Sandstorm is, I'll say Octane for those of you for the purist in the group, but I do think that you got to focus on the survivability. I'm pushing for it. A few of the other playtesters are pushing for him to get something that affects his survivability. If you do that, I think Octone just might come into the meta again, because you know you know, once again, he's gonna do acid. He's gonna do acid attacks, and you can use him as an auxiliary healer, so it works for that as well. So I think this was a, I think it was a pretty bold pick for Space Eight, but I think it was a smart pick, and I hope that whatever they're working on in the background, I hope it's really good, and I hope it makes them survive better. Mercenary Terror actually just said something that I was also thinking about as well. And one thing that I wouldn't mind seeing on him is like some type of like Megatronus type effect. I did think that, and that's cool for the damage aspect. And this is the reason why I walked back off of that idea, because he needs survivability more. He just does. Like if you rush him in, look at any other rush bot that you use in the game right now, and he's got some kind of health boost. He's got something. He reflects damage, and even like for bots like Tantrum and Hotspot, we were talking about that on the Discord server the other day. Like people don't even use Tantrum and Hotspot anymore like they did, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Even with that, so it really takes for you to use a rush in bot. It takes something to address his health. Now you could go do certain things like, for me for a while, I would use Nemesis Prime and a rush buddy. That consumes so many points over time. You know what I mean? And so then you start looking around and what do you do? So I think there needs to be a standalone option to affect the survivability. And even if that means he can't do as much damage, then so be it. LJ Gaff says the Octone seems fairly bad to me overall for damage and healing. It depends. There are some strategies out there that you can use to try to push his damage along. Uh, I do want to talk about that in a future video because he is gonna be in my Acid Bot series that I really need to get working on. I'm actually taking off of work next week, so I think I'll have more time to look at it. But yeah, yeah, we definitely need to talk about the good things that Octone can do, so that when he does get this ability 11, everybody's already on board. Hey yo, my boy Trap just dropped in. Thanks for joining. My boy Grim Studios just dropped in too. Thanks for joining. Check out his content, guys. Got a lot of good stuff out there. Jason Wesley dropped in on us as well, and he says that if his heal had an instant component similar to ability 11 on Springer, um, I'll tell you this, Jason, that did come up in conversation today. I don't know how far we're gonna get with that, um, but just know a couple of us in the playtest, we're with you and we understand. I will say, the time that this thing takes, it takes, you're talking about over the course of 10 seconds. 10 seconds is a long time to sit up there and wait on a heal, man. Um, Now, I wanted to potentially chase uh, a time reduction, but those kind of things don't always go over well. People always seem to think that they're getting cheated out of something somehow. I don't know how that works. I'm not even going to try to get into all of that right now, but yeah, we're with you. We would like to see something with the heal as well. Clearly, Space Ape is working on it right now. We'll see what they come up with, and if I like it, I'll push forward. If I don't, I don't, and I'll tell them about it. So, all right, well, I see Kristen Jones joined us, and she wanted to talk about Ability 11, so that's what we're talking about. So right now, we're saying Octone and Sandstorm are getting Ability 11s. And this is why I asked for ideas, because sometimes you guys put some really great ideas in the comments, and looks like Silverbolt 94 says give his Russian immunity to stun or shield. Don't know how many times he gets stunned when rushing, and so that's always a concern when you're dealing with rush bots. Like I said, a couple good ideas about the healing. So all of which the good ideas I always take back to Space 8 when you guys talk about them. And so cool, man. So let's talk about the next ability 11. And so I'm actually kind of excited about the next two, really, because the next one is going to be for Deathsaurus. So Deathsaurus is getting an ability 11, and it's not so much that I'm excited for him. I do have the 5-star Deathsaurus on my live account. My issue is this. My issue is that every time they did something in Deathsaurus, they say, "Oh man, this is going to be amazing. It's going to be so cool." And so far, it hasn't been. We got a damage reduction when he first came to the batch. All right, man, cool. Still, talking about using 10 points. So then they was like, "Oh man, well, we're going to give him his own core." And I was like, "Okay, this core, it's all right." You know what I'm saying? It's not going to make me use Deathsaurus. And so what I want to see, once again, I want to see something that helps the survivability of the bot. And so if they address Deathsaurus's survivability with this ability 11, we gonna be good. I might actually use them again. Um, I don't know if it's gonna be specifically something they say, "Oh man, they did something cool," but they will do something that'll make them viable. So we've been waiting around for this for a little bit. Um, I felt like the Death Source release was a little bit underwhelming, but if if now I saw the idea that they were coming up with, I think it might be something worthwhile. Um, we might need to do some tweaking with it a little bit, but I think if we can get to his survivability, I think we're gonna have a pretty good. I think we got a pretty good bot on our hands, and I have not been saying that since they released him as a 5-star. So hopefully that's the case. Fingers crossed. The Deathsaurus is survivable after his ability 11. So looking in the comments, Chris Harmon says he should get a shield like the Warriors do. Um, he should get something. Uh, you definitely got to do survivability. You have to be delicate with how you go about a survivability because you can easily make him overpowered. Now he is costly, and from that aspect, it is good that he's costly. But he's just going. You do have to be careful that he just becomes just like a very overpowered sack bot. His range is incredible. He can stun. Um, you're gonna get a lot of boosts from, especially when you go get this new combiner and stuff, and you go got your Titan effects and stuff like that. You could have a real problem on your hands if you aren't delicate. But I do agree that he needs something, some kind of shield, something that um, gives him some survivability. That does come with the possibility of having two counters, though, and that would be the FFD, and that would be also the Lightning Rod Billbot core. So that always kind of sucks, but it's needed in this case. So I'll accept that. Mm, that would be interesting, but I think that would be overpowered. Jason, he says if he get a heal from every building and bot that dies while under electrical or freeze effects, that I think that might be pushing the boundary a little bit too far, depending on what percentage you use. I think that percentage will be really really low. But that's what we got. So now we got two out of the three talked about: Deathsaurus, and of course we also talked about Octone. So Deathsaurus, Star Saber, and then Octone and Sandstorm. And so let's talk about the third ability 11. This one I think a lot of players, especially top level players, have been waiting for a while. Um, take a guess. Take a guess in the chat real quick. It is a Gunner class bot. It's a Gunner class bot used in Top Wars. I'll give the first three people to guess it a Freezy chest. Just hit me up on Discord. I'll give you the Freezy chest. Gunner class bot popular enough in Top Wars, get an ability 11. Doesn't have an ability 11 yet. So let me know in the chat who you think. Gunner class. All right, and I see a couple of people in there. And so that brings up an interesting conversation. I didn't really think about it until Sunstreak Owaza was talking about it on his stream last week. But when you're doing ability 11s and you're doing G1 cores, a lot of times they don't want to always go for like new bots that are in the meta and stuff like that. And it kind of makes sense because those bots are already good. People are already using those bots. And so a lot of times the criticism that Space Ape gets is that you're not using some of these older bots. You're not giving people a reason to use them. Like when we were talking about Octone and Sandstorm, it says, I want a reason to use this bot again. Um, and sometimes Ability 11 does that. Sometimes the G1 core does that. And so that's the kind of stuff we're talking about. So for this particular bot, it is already being used a lot. And let's see, it looks like. All right, we got a couple people with the answer. All right, so right now, I got two people with the answer. And so the answer is, let's go to my gunners. And I actually don't have him leveled up on me, but the answer is Breakneck. So let's see. Jason Wesley, you picked Smokescreen. So hit me up on Discord after this. I'll give you a Freezy chest. Um, let's see who else. I see that Big Blade got it as well. So hit me up. I'll give you a Freezy chest, and for answering correctly. But yeah, Breakneck and Smokescreen are gonna be getting a ability 11. And my question is this, and we had a lot of conversation about this in playtest today. What should it do? What should it do? I mean, and here's where I'm at. If you just give it a damage boost, that's cool, but he already does really well. If you give him a damage boost for his execute ability, does it become overpowered? Does it is it too boring? Do you not add something fun to his gameplay? Um, it's tough because it's really fragile balance of, is it going to become overpowered or is it going to be boring? So I personally, I wouldn't mind seeing an element added to it, like maybe some line damage in addition to the actual execute, and it could be somewhat small. But I was thinking like maybe what if you put fire? What if you put fire or something up there, or if you put a debuff as part of the line damage? What would happen? Chris Harmon says it should actually hurt HQ. I don't know if I would do that. That would be overpowered. I do agree with what my good friend Trap is saying. Trap is saying freeze or slow target. I'm thinking somewhere more along those lines. Um, that's kind of what I'm suggesting when we start talking about a breakneck ability 11. Something along those lines. I think because his range is so great, his cost is cheap. I don't want his cost to have to go up as the result of this. I'm thinking like some kind of debuff, a freeze, a fire. I would love something that combos well, but yeah. Esclohasi says hit an adjacent building for and he said like 25%. I did think about something like that as well. Also, Matt Polly says it should come with an animation to melt bots like Galvatron melted Starscream. Highly classified says element projectile explodes. Uh, that did come up. Jason, are you ain't in playtest, are you? Because you starting to say some things that we did discuss in here today. He says make it kind of similar to Warpath where it pierces through. Um, I honestly don't like abilities like that much, but that doesn't mean that it would be a bad idea. Um, so it is worth looking at. So yeah, man. So that's your ability 11. So we got on the Decepticon side, Breakneck, Octone, and Deathsaurus. On the Autobot side, you've got Smokescreen, Sandstorm, and you also have Star Saber that will be getting ability 11s. All right, so let's go talk a little bit about. Let's go talk a little bit about these G1 cores. So let's go start with. So let's see. All right, so the first one that I'll tell you guys, Dive Bomb and Windblade are going to be getting a G1 core. And so I'd actually don't use that. And I've been meaning to because I've had a bunch of friends tell me about how awesome Dive Bomb is. I need to actually get in and play around with Dive Bomb a little bit more because I used to only use Dive Bomb for sack. And since I don't really sack very often anymore, uh, who knows? Uh, but if this G1 can make something for it, I would like to see. I don't really know what I want to see for Dive Bomb. I said I would think it would be rooted in giving it more attack. So if you do utilize that range, that you could destroy more faster. But I don't know. I'm not really sure what I want to do there. And I need to think about it because eventually Space Ape's going to give us a survey for this stuff and ask us what we want to see. So I got to think about that one overnight. I got to sleep on it. So that's going to be the first set of bots that we're looking at. So we got 6 bots total that are going to get this G1 core. So as always, put your ideas in the chat as what you think they should do for Dive Bomb. All right, so the next one is right next to him. It's gonna be Hunger, and Hunger is Snarl on the Autobot side. They're gonna get a G1. Now, I don't know what I want for this one either, if I'm being honest. And that's kind of why I talked about the ability 11s first, because I could talk about it more intelligently. But maybe I, the only thing I can think of that I would really want is I want something because he has a fire ability. I want something to be able to combo with it, but I just don't want to go add any more acid stuff into the game, man. I really don't. For most special class bots, one thing I always like to see for them is some type of regeneration. So I might try to make a push for it because they make these special class bots, they make them entirely too squishy a lot of times. And I think doing a regeneration without having to use a prime core or whatever is kind of appropriate. So maybe I could push in that direction. I'm not really sure yet. Mercenary terrorist rooting on his fellow Terracons and getting added. Chris Harmon says make him more useful in power level and how. And I kind of looking along the lines of what Big Blade's talking about a damage increase in alchemist ability. Trap says his fire is a name making. That's part of the reason why I want to see a boost for some kind of way to I want to catch. I want to take advantage of it more. Grim Studios agrees with what I'm saying. He's saying that he's a little bit on the fragile side. Chris Harmon says give him a shield. It's possible. I mean, I think survivability is a thing that you got to look at with him as well. And I think that you do. I think you do got to kind of talk about. I think you do got to talk about that a little bit. I think you do have to. You got to give him something. Survivability, a little bit more damage per se. And the thing is, are you going to be able to actually get him worked into the current meta with this and future metas? And I don't know if you're going to be able to. All right. So let's go ahead and look at the next G1 core. And so the next G1 core here, let me go back to my cons real quick. They really going in with these special class bots. But it's another special class bot, and that's going to be Ripper Snapper, and that is going to be Slash on the Autobot side. So Ripper Snapper's going to get a G1. This is another one that I'm struggling with, man. Like, do you make a play off of his already existing ability? Do you just try to? Do you give him a? I wouldn't mind seeing them have like some sort of speed up, and maybe it'll wind up turning into an option. One thing that I was looking at with like Quellagon and Twin Twist is that have they have a speed up. Maybe it's like speed up while he's invisible. Not as to the extent of like Quellagon, but maybe a minor speed up. Yeah, Esclohase agrees with me. A cheater with style, speed, and heal boost. Yeah, I don't think you can do the heal boost with him because technically, you know, you, he's not taking any damage unless you hit a flare mine. Which the flare mine I'm cool with because that's a reasonable counter. But maybe, and now that I think about it out loud, maybe they're trying to force some changes defensively because I do think backdoor is starting to come back a little bit, or it can with the right conditions. We're not there yet, Big Blade. Like he said, a water version of Megatronus. Now, I will say, I do want to see a core like that, but I want it to be a core. I don't want it to just be on a specific bot. I want it to be something that's usable by multiple bots. So yeah, that's what we're looking at there. Let's see, we got three more. It looks like. So and so this is how I love the way that this particular batch is split because now we're starting to look at some of the meta bots. And so for the meta bots, we are gonna have. Oh, actually, it's not a gunner. I need to put this in alphabetical order. I don't know where my Autobots are half the time. So we're gonna get one for Red Alert and Run Amok. And so Red Alert and Run Amok are already popular in the game. They're usable on offense and defense at all war levels. And dude, honestly, they're powerful enough. I don't know what you're gonna do. I don't know what I would do to a bot like Red Alert and Run Amok. It's crazy because when I look at it, I was like, man, they're awfully powerful already. They're like awfully, awfully powerful. So I'm not sure exactly how that'll work. Yeah, so Red Alert and Run Amok are coming. Um, I mean, and the thing is like when I first was working on his ability 11, And that was actually my original idea, to just give him a shield for himself that makes him invulnerable, because FFD had just got real big. And dude, that does the trick for me. Like, having him have that invulnerability for 10 seconds, I think was perfect. Um, what else can you add on top of that, man? That's gonna not make him overpowered, but just be a nice little touch. Hey man, run amok, take this core. I'm not sure. Grim Studio says a command ability. Yeah, that would be cool. Trap says regeneration. I did think about that, but I was like, are you gonna have him regenerate when he's also invulnerable without the use of an added? Well, that one's tough for me. Um, and if you did regeneration, what do you base it on? Do you base it on his damage? Do you base it on, like, I'm not sure. Big Blade agrees that he needs health regeneration. Um, Grim came up with a good one in glass cannon effects. That would actually be kind of dope. Like, and what I wouldn't mind seeing if you did a glass cannon is, what if he, man, we already got a bot like that. Because I was gonna say, what if he left a trail of glass gas behind him? We already got a rush bot like that. Hmm. I don't know, man. Matt Polly says, just make him back to how he was. But yeah, I'm gonna sleep on some of these at night, man, because I just hadn't been able to come up with any good ideas for some of them yet. Um, because my first priority as a playtester is always balance, and I don't want to make it anything that's too stupid, in terms of how powerful it is. But I do want it to be good, so we'll see how it goes. All right, so next one we're gonna talk about is one of my personal favorites. It's gonna be Impactor, Autobot and Decepticon Impactor. And yeah, that's a good point that Trap is making. Also, the cores got to stand out in order to be equipped versus the meta. So yeah, that's true. Escloasi was saying, as far as going back to Run Amok and Red Alert, something that combos off of the friction rifle. I could get down with that. I don't think that would be the standalone ability, because the friction rifle isn't always going. But I could definitely see that being a nice add-on. So now we're looking at Impactor. Esclohasi says, so here we could do damage reflection with a shield. Um, you could do something like, I think Impactor, like, when I look at these special class spots, and even one that has the power that he has the health, he has the damage. So it's two things, because, so I will say this for Impactor, and as somebody that's been an Impactor user, someone who's had Impactor in my war team, somebody who still uses Impactor from time to time as an alternate in my war team, the one thing that irritates the ever loving crap out of me is power creep has started to set in on him. And so I want something that's going to kind of mirror, um, in some capacity, the effects that you have with the Amalgamous Prime Core. You want to add some damage on top of that, and I think that from a damage perspective, you have to have it be more of an increase than the Amalgamous Prime Core. Power creep has set in. It's taking him way too long. You could spend that entire 10 seconds of his ability shooting at one target, depending on what that target is. And even with the explosions, you're not going to get very many explosions off. So I would love to see something that gives his damage increase a little bit of a bump. I say somewhere in the neighborhood of 5 to 10%, maybe. I would have to run the numbers, honestly. I'm not a numbers crunch guy, but something that allows him to damage more than one target per ability use, and I'd be good with that. And give him some regeneration. Special class bots, give him some regeneration, and I think I'd be good with that. All right, I'm getting questions about who's the final core. So the final core is the recently fixed air class bot Skyhawk and Brainstorm. So this was a great pick for me. I feel like on Space Ape's part. Now, depending on what the G1 is going to do, for me personally, Skyhawk and Brainstorm, I never find quite that perfect fit and what to use with them. So I wind up just throwing. Oh man, I didn't make a space for whatever core it is. I didn't make a space for my Nexus Prime or whatever. I'll throw that. I'll throw it on him when I'm putting them on teams, right? Now, obviously, I just recently got Guy Hawk on my live server, so I don't play with him a lot, but I do play with him on the test server quite a bit. And I always find myself I'll just throw the Prime Core on him that I'm not using anywhere else, and the end. But if they make something good for Guy Hawk, 100% I'll use it. And I don't say that very often about G1 cores. So, what does it need to do? Is it just going to be an ability increase? Um, I will say this: if they do something in the neighborhood of ability increase, um, the only part that's going to bother me is that it's it's well, actually, I can't even say it bothers me because Guy Hawk cost a lot more than Slipstream. Brainstorm costs a lot more than Air Raid. So if the ability, I could see that ability being more powerful than Slipstream and Air Raid, and it would be justified because with the maxed out core, with the maxed out core, you would be able to do that damage at a higher cost. So maybe you go in that direction, or maybe you go do something with the built-in. Well, yeah, with the built-in vector, you could do something with it. And is one suggestion I see in there. Longer freeze time. Hmm. Those are good ideas. The 70% speed debuff from the bomb spreads to all buildings adjacent to, and that explode from his ability. Yeah, some good ideas in there. I'm glad you guys got some good ideas because right now I don't, but I do know that he needs something that's gonna be really unique. He said they need to fix his neck. But yeah, man. So those are going to be your bots that are coming out here with their G1 core. So I'll go back down the list again. It's going to be Windblade and Dive Bomb, Snarl and Hunger, Slash and Ripper Snapper, Red Alert and Run Amok, Impactor, and then Brainstorm and Skyhawk. So let me know in the chat, what do you think about upcoming Ability 11 batch and the G1 badge. And as always, if you can't think of an idea right now, if you're on my Discord, just hit me up on Discord. If you're not on Discord, leave a comment in the video, man, so that way if you come up with some really good ideas, I might ask you some questions because I like to have the back and forth conversation about certain things. But if you got some ideas, let me know so I can present them in Space 8 before it gets too late. I do have some ideas from some bots, like as I just told you. Some bots I don't have a clue about what I want to do. So yeah. So let me know. Let me know. Let me know. Let me know. So yeah, man. But anyway, thanks everybody for joining, and I will see you next week on the live stream, and I will see you in the battlefield, guys. Freezy is out.